What is the stupidest way you've injured yourself? Showering at a hotel in a small stall with a slippery tile floor. Bent over to wash my feet. My butt hit the tap handle. I slipped. Put my hands out to save myself and violently slammed the glass shower door open. I bashed my forehead and bridge of nose on the tile floor. Had a major nose bleed and a giant goose egg on my forehead. I don't have bangs to cover that up. I thought I had escaped without the black eyes I expected after bashing my nose. But 2 days later I woke up with deep purple swollen eyelids. Luckily I had packed my seldom used makeup to cover the worst of it and I wore a hat in the daytime. I'm still shocked the shower door didn't shatter when it hit the wall. Threw a grape in the air to catch it in my mouth. It fell on the floor and I bent down to pick it up and smashed my face into the windowsill. That actually made me laugh. Sorry. I laughed and am not sorry. I was in the 4th or 5th grade but I jumped down an entire flight of stairs. Landed hard and hurt my foot. Walked on it for a day or two afterwards. Turned out I shattered my heel and broke my ankle. Tripped over a storage ottoman trying to jump over it all slick. Got my toes wedged in the latch and broke my foot in 2 places. I live in Minnesota so I am used to kicking snow off my boots by slamming my toe part of the boot down on the ground. Well, it was summer and I happened to get my running shoes absolutely covered in mud. So I instinctively slammed my toes down on the pavement and broke my toes. Drank hot tea lying down. The first thing you learn in British school is to never drink tea lying down. Op said stories about hurtful accidents, not regretful crimes. I got out of a long, hot shower and noticed a thread dangling off of my shirt. And when I tried to pull it out it just neatly sliced through several millimeters of my finger. It was so minor I can hardly even call it an injury. But getting cut by a shirt is definitely the stupidest I've had. Stabbed myself in the leg with a piece of metal. It was really thin and tapered at the tip so when you swung it you would hear this really cool whoosh sound. I swung down way too hard and it went right into my shin. Bad times. I did this but I swung up instead. Sad face, rip my forehead. I did this but I swung down instead. Sad face, rip my foreskin. I found my dad's EpiPen one day while looking for mouth spray for sore throats. It obviously wasn't what I was looking for but I wanted to figure out how it worked. I ended up shooting the needle clear through my thumb. I then hid the evidence of my stupidity and never told my mom until years later. I'm sure your heart was racing for multiple reasons, not even counting the epinephrine. Was helping husband replace the bathroom fan. So I was standing on the side of the bathtub. I had this plastic hook glued to the shower wall to hang a loofah on. I went to get down and slid down the wall and hooked my butt cheek to the wall. It hurt so bad but was also hilarious. I'm in my 40s and this happened recently. I bent over while having a shower and gouged a hole above my tailbone on the bath tap. I dropped something behind my couch. Leaned over the back to pick it up and cracked a rib. Was in pain for a week. Getting old as hell. I broke a rib by coughing too hard. I'm just getting over the flu. Did the same thing. Carving a stick. Instead of carving it away from me I carved it towards myself and sliced my thumb open. Shaved hairs but towards myself and took off a slice of my thumbnail. Twice. To try to get a cheap laugh out of my ex. I threw a hammer as hard as I could at a tree. The hammer bounced off the tree. And I turned just in time for it to hit me in the small of my back. Miracle I'm not paralyzed. Thank goodness you weren't throwing an axe. Held a lighter to my ear to listen for gas flow. Click and there went some hair. One time I had a hell of a brain fart and almost lit my face on fire. I was trying to light a blunt and usually I have the blunt in my left hand at my lips and the lighter in my right. Sometimes I switch hands the objects are in. But for some damn reason. One night I held the lighter in my left hand up to my lips and the blunt pressed up against the lighter. Lips pursed and everything. I lit the lighter. Lips got hot before I realized what the F I was doing. Couple hours later, I noticed my eyebrows were singed. I was stone cold sober at the time. Shot myself in the eye with a Nerf gun. I looked into the barrel to see if it was loaded. I was 8. Sounds like a supervillain backstory. When I was a kid, maybe 10 or so, I had recently discovered that the feet on my prosthetics could be unscrewed and moved into different positions. So I borrowed an Allen key from my dad and took it to school so I could unscrew my feet and show my friends at recess. None of them were as blown away by this as I'd hoped. Pretty sure they were just used to this kind of thing by now, haha. Anyway, the bell went to tell us to go back to class and I very quickly tightened the feet back onto the prosthetics. Put my shoes back on and started making my way back to class. As I was walking with a group of my classmates, I started to notice my legs felt wobbly. I looked down and with every step my feet were turning outwards slightly. A normal person would have come to the conclusion, oh, I didn't tighten the screws up enough. But not me. I jumped to the conclusion of holy s, I can control my feet like a robot. My excitement quickly turned to dread when I realized I don't know how to control feet. Been an amputee since I was a baby and they kept turning until one was pointing sideways. Despite this, I kept trying to walk and after a few more steps the foot just fell off and I managed to slam the now footless prosthetic down, which jarred my knee and hips and caused me to slip over and face plant into the corner of a cement mini wall, one of those waist-high walls. Being a self-respecting 10-yo, I started bawling my eyes out, which caught the attention of the new teacher. It's her first day and the only disabled student is in pieces. The foot got thrown backwards when it fell off with a bloodied nose. Screaming like a banshee. She didn't really know what to do since I couldn't get back up. So she gave me some tissues for my nose and made a very confused call to the maintenance man asking if he knows how to fix prosthetics so I can get to the school nurse. TLDR, my prosthetic foot fell off and I face planted into a cement wall. Walked onto a manhole cover that was not placed on correctly. Ended up in the hospital and had to have 3 surgeries over 4 months. My friend saw a jellyfish on the beach then kicked it. Like on purpose and knowing what it was. They had to go to the The level of badass of that jellyfish is through the roof. You are washed up on the shore. So you are on the enemy's territory. It's hot. You are straight up melting. You have no legs or arms to fight back and yet you do. You poison that little brat straight into the What a legend. Punch myself in the T while trying to F around with my sleeves. I don't know how it happens but it happens often. Having punched, smacked, squeezed, bruised my TTS since they grew in. I am pretty sure they are their own entities. Yes, I spelled it that way on purpose. This reminded me of one. I used to work as a cook. And one time I was carrying a couple boxes of who knows what into the cooler. They were pretty heavy and I was carrying them chest height. I get really close to the stack of boxes I'm going to set them on. And as I'm sliding the boxes onto the stack, my right nipple somehow became lodged between them when I set them down. That hurt. I was pulling a heavy blanket up. My hand slipped off of it. And my thumb, with a longish nail, went straight into my eye. I'm a welder. I work with really hot steel parts constantly. But I regularly burn myself on the microwave meals I eat for lunch. One time in middle school I was getting ready to head to school. But I couldn't find any pants. When I finally did, I got so excited, and lifted them up really fast as a way to cheer. All of a sudden I felt so much pain in my shoulder and had to go to the doctors. Turns out I dislocated my shoulder and had to wear a sling for the next few days. Riding my bike home in 5th grade slowly alongside my walking friends. Friend, Drew, look where you're going. Drew, nah dude, I'm good at biking, I can do it with my eyes closed. Friend, no really dude. Look out. Drew, nah man. I'm good. Instantly crashes into a parked car. Mess up my bike chain. Have to drag my bike home in shame and explain to my mom why my knee and lip are bleeding. I've done something very similar before and I've also been named Drew before, so I'm relatively certain you are me. Thought I could walk my dog on a leash while riding my bike. Dog saw a squirrel and yanked me off my bike. I broke a few bones in my hand. Doc was like, what did you expect would happen? This reminds me of when we first got our dog and it was my then 7-year-old's turn to take the dog out into the yard on the leash. But my daughter quickly got bored and wanted to climb a tree. She tied the dog's leash to a long jump rope. To another, and climbed. Edit to add, she tied the end of the line of ropes to her waist and climbed. My husband pulled into the driveway in the car. Puppy wildly dashed towards him at full speed. Kid flew out of the top of the tree. Landed halfway across the yard and was dragged the rest of the way. Puppy never broke stride. Wow. So many options. Most recent. Working under my truck on a slight slope while on a creeper. Grabbed the undercarriage and yanked hard to slide to the back. Forgot about slope and used excessive force. I probably would have wound up in the street. Had all 250 pounds of me not been decelerated by the top of my head hitting the differential. Woke up and it was darker and my neck was sore. I also had a horn like a unicorn, big lump. 2 weeks on concussion watch and wearing a hat to conceal the lump. Most memorable. 8Yo me finds a weird blue light bulb in the creek. Has what looks like mica inclusions in the glass and steel wool instead of a filament. 8Yo me goes into the closet with a 9V battery and 2 wires to find out what it looks like lit. I hold it between index and middle finger and apply the wires. Eureka! Like a flash I realize. It's a flash bulb. I am now blind. In a closet. 2 fingers melted to a hot flash bulb. Keystone Cops antics ensue. Strangest. Talking to my sister on the landline in the kitchen. I have raccoon hands. Always touching things. Picking things up. Etc. while talking. At one point I wind up with a peanut butter cookie and an open flame. Even I don't know how I got there. Lol. Peanut butter cookie winds up on fire. I try to throw it into the sink. Miss badly. Cookie breaks up and flaming pieces fall on my bare feet. I learned there are a lot of nerve endings on top of my feet. Screaming somehow communicates problem to sister, who I can hear laughing on the dropped handset. Bonus. Forgot the cookie lesson regarding nerve endings. Barbecuing in a Weber kettle. In flip-flops. I spread out the pile of briquettes once they were ready. Bottom vents were open and hot embers fell on my feet. Poured beer on my feet and increased the vocabulary of nearby children.